Hi. Last week we talked about the healthcare system, our thoughts on the healthcare system, how your doctors don't really understand how food and lifestyle can be related to certain health conditions. And we talked about food. And so this week we want to talk about meal planning, how to plan a meal or plan your day or your week so that you can maximize your nutrition, reduce waste, and really be set up for success. So good morning, Daniel. How are you?
I'm good. How are you doing, Jennifer?
I'm fine.
Great.
Do you do much meal planning?
Well, I don't know if I did. I've been doing this for so long. I kind of have my meals every week. Like I usually start with a smoothie in the morning, but I need to be more like you because I'm serious. Your variety is so, you think it's well thought out. Now, I'm not as
Oh,
good as
thank
you
you.
on variety. So,
So I do think variety is really
yeah.
important, and that is I I've always been this way. And it's funny because my grandma, she'll be turning 101 soon, and she has always been really big into variety. She
Uh,
said that my grandfather actually learned in the army, so this is in the early 40s, that you need to make sure you have a lot of color on your plate, that
wow.
is the best way for nutrition. And so that's shocking to me. That is
Yeah.
shocking that he learned that in the army in the
Yeah.
40s. Yeah, and so she's always done that. But she said even going back further, her dad owned a grocery store. And so he would go to the market once a week and he would look for unusual foods that he could bring to the grocery store and bring them home. And her mom would create a meal with this unknown, fruit or vegetable. And so she always had a lot of variety. My mom had a lot of variety, and so I guess that's the way I grew up. I get bored, like with leftovers. I don't want to eat the same thing a couple of days in a row. I know a lot of people they do. Like, you have your smoothie every morning, and I'll do that. Like I had green smoothies. I'll have a green smoothie for a while, and then all of a sudden I'll be like, I'll even fix it in the morning and go to eat it and go, I don't want this. It's like my body just says, you've had enough. You need something different. So I don't know, but I do like variety, and I think it's important because every food that we eat, every fruit and vegetable, real food, has different nutrients in it. And so I think it's so important that we do get a lot of variety, even in your greens. If you could eat a salad every day, don't just have romaine every day. Have romaine with a little bit of spinach this week, and then next week switch up to something else. A Napa cabbage with I don't know, some shredded purple cabbage or something, just to mix up even simple things like that in your breakfast too. But I didn't mean to go off on a tangent, but
Oh,
I am really big into meal planning, and that's kind of my thing. It's something I've been doing for a really long time. Like I said, I like variety. So even 20 years ago when my kids were little, I always wanted to make sure that we had a lot of variety. And so to get started, before I even ate this way, I ate pretty clean. Um, but before I was completely whole food plant based, I would just write down a different ethnic food every week. Like, Mondays we're gonna have Mexican, Tuesday we'll have Italian, Wednesday we'll have Chinese, Thursday we'll have, something. And so I would just plan it around that way. And
huh.
so that way we had variety. And maybe it would be the same thing. We have tacos on Mexican night. That might be tacos again the next week as well, but it could be taco salad or burritos or, quesadillas or something like that. So now I pretty much do the same thing. It's just whole food plant based. When I'm stuck on something, when I'm not feeling very creative, then I'll do that. I don't like to have the same thing. So like I don't want to have rice every day. I don't want to have pasta every day. And I try not to eat pasta, zoodles. But I do sometimes, I don't know, to save money, I do kind of stick to the same things for the week. So like this week we had a lot of quinoa. We had quinoa in a lot of different recipes because I can cook a large batch of quinoa and then use it in different dishes during the week. Quinoa is very high in B vitamins, very high in fiber, very high in protein. So it's a really excellent food that you can combine with other things, stuff in a pepper, make I call them Buddha bowls, poke bowl. Some people even put quinoa in their smoothie bowls, and things like that. So while I do have a lot of variety, it'll switch week to week, but it might not be a lot of variety in one single week. Does that
Yeah.
make any sense at all?
Oh yeah, it does. It's interesting. It's a good way to look at it too. I like your idea of having like ethnic knots. I never thought about that, like Mexican, Italian, because that will automatically make you try different foods. So
hmm Yes. Yeah. And then like even if you do that, like you could have Chinese night. What could we eat for Chinese night? Like a sweet and sour cauliflower,
yeah,
over maybe it'd be over brown rice, or cauliflower rice, which you might not put sweet and sour cauliflower on cauliflower rice, but you could. And then you could have Japanese one night where you're using the same brown rice again, and even some of the same vegetables, but raw. Make them make a nori roll.
yeah,
So you can prep one time, prep those vegetables, stir fry them one night, keep them raw in a nori roll the next night, roast them to have a Buddha bowl the next night.
wow,
That's another thing that you can do so that you're reusing. So it's not a lot of variety this week, but then next week I can switch up what fruits and vegetables I feel like eating. But I do plan it all out. And I think that that is really the key. I know, I don't know if you listen to Chef AJ, but she'll say, what does she say? Failing to plan is planning to fail. And
yeah,
so, and I see that in my own programs with my own clients. If they don't plan next week, or they don't go to the grocery store and they just start grabbing things, then they're grabbing processed foods, they're grabbing
yeah,
high sugar foods, they're stopping at a fast food restaurant, picking up things they don't want to eat, but they're crunched for time and don't know what to have. And so for me, it's just really important to plan and plan ahead. Like I think ahead. Like I do my grocery list usually on Monday, but I don't do my grocery shopping till Thursday. And so that way I can add more things to it. I can change my mind and things like that. So it's not a last minute throw a grocery list together. It's kind of thinking through my grocery list. And then something else I do. So I grocery list on Thursday. I look on Friday, I'll look over, what did I plan on cooking this week? And then I will start prepping a little bit each day. So when we eat this way, the way we do, mostly raw, vegan, I don't like to use the word, but whole food, plant-based. A lot of times what you want to use, you want to soak nuts and seeds or soak any grains. I buy oat groats because they are raw in their whole form. And so I want to sprout them. So like overnight last night, I soaked a bunch of oat groats so they can sprout today. I soaked cashews and hemp seeds to make a yogurt today. So it's in the dehydrator right now. I'm making yogurt while I'm on the podcast. And so it's really quick and easy. It sounds difficult, oh, I don't want to sprout a bunch of different things. Who has time for that? I don't want to make yogurt. Who has time for that? But in reality, it only takes a couple of minutes. I put oats in a bowl and soaked them overnight last night. How long did that take? Didn't take me any time at all. Throw them in a bowl and fill it with water. Put the cashews in a bowl, fill it up with water, leave it to sit overnight. Didn't take me any time. This morning, strained and rinsed the oats, left them in a strainer and set them aside. I don't have to do anything else with the cashews and the hemp seeds. So that I rinsed the cashews. I put water in the blender, threw in the rinsed cashews, threw in some hemp seeds and blended it up. That's it. Added my probiotics and stuck it all in the dehydrator. So it really didn't take any time at all. And
wow,
then I'll have yogurt, to eat for the week. And so there are some little things like that that maybe people, it sounds intimidating. I don't want to
yeah,
make all of these things, but it doesn't take time, except I can't have yogurt this morning when I just bought the cashews last night. It's not going to have time to ferment. I have to think ahead. So my yogurt will be ready tonight, if I want to make a cheese out of yogurt, or tomorrow and for the rest of the week. So it takes planning.
yeah.
Yeah.
You're
I-
right, because if you don't plan, you'll be out and you'll get hungry.
Mhm.
And if for a lot of people, if they're hungry, they'll grab the first thing they can get,
Yeah.
you
Yeah,
know?
and I do it too. I do it too.
Yeah,
You know, we go to the grocery store, my plan, well, I mean, everything that I buy, oh, this is something else I wanted to talk about. Everything I buy at the grocery store, I have a plan for because I don't want to waste food. I don't want to spend money on food that we're not going to eat. And
yeah.
so a lot of times people will show me, hey, I found this at the grocery store. I want to say it's artichoke noodles.
Hmm.
Maybe. Anyway, I've never had them, but someone showed me their box of artichoke noodles. I found this at the store. Now what do I do with it? And I was thinking, why did you spend the money on artichoke noodles without knowing what you wanted to do with it? And so, and now I realize that a lot of people do that. You know, you found a good deal, something really cool, but I think it would be a better idea to make a note of it, go home, figure out how you can incorporate it into next week's menu, and then come back and buy it next week when you have a plan for it. That will save you some money this week. It'll also save you some time and aggravation too, because I mean, you have to spend some time coming up with how to use it. And I don't know about you, but I don't always have a lot of time to throw something together. You know, what's this artichoke pasta gonna taste like? What kind of sauce is gonna be good on
Yeah,
artichoke pasta? I don't know. I don't know. And so, and what else is in there? You know, how is it made? What are the ingredients in there? That's just me. I want to make sure it's a good clean ingredient too before I grab something last minute. So I think it's important to plan ahead, plan your meals ahead, which can be, maybe that's kind of boring to people, or you know, because I already know, I mean, I already know what I'm eating for breakfast every day, lunch every day, and dinner every day, and that there's going to be a lot of variety. But I also uh, I think I said that wrong. I don't know what I said. I already know what I'm going to eat for breakfast, lunch, and dinner. And while it sounds boring, that I will mix it up. So like I'll have, like for this week coming up, I have apple muesli. So I'll make a muesli mix with apples a few days, but then it's not the same day, same every day. You know, I can mix that up and turn it into a smoothie. I could, you know, bake something, bake the oats instead, you know, so I can always change my mind. I'm not rigid. You don't have to
yeah,
plan and be rigid about it. Things come up. You know, this weekend, there's a big game on TV Sunday night. I don't know when our podcast will air, but you know, that's going to be a different, totally different kind of food. You know, how can I make that healthy and fun food? And, you know, what
yeah.
if we get invited over somewhere, or we decide to have people over, then, you know, it's going to change up what we're going to eat. So I don't have to be rigid about it. But I like to plan it so I have lots of color in all of my meals. I write down all the ingredients that I'm going to need for each of those. So it can be a little bit time consuming in the planning, but then
Yeah.
it's so worth it. It's so worth it when you already know what you're going to be doing. And when you meal prep a little bit every day, like like I said, so like I'm making the yogurt and sprouting today. I'll look and see what beans are on the list for next week, and I'll soak any beans I need and cook them tomorrow, and then I'll do my meal prep Sunday. So I do it 3 days usually, my meal prep. So I'm not spending all day one day. It's a little bit here, a little bit there, like that.
Yeah, I think you're right. It scares people if they think they have to stay they have to stay all day in the kitchen to meal prep. But I know you were talking, you do a little bit every day, and then Sunday is the
My
bigger
big
prep day. Maybe it's 2 or 3 hours you're talking about on Sunday.
Yes,
That's not
yes,
long. I mean, and then you have stuff to eat the whole week.
yes, yes. So yes, and you're right. And so some people go, I don't have 3 hours to spend in the kitchen, but I don't spend any time in the kitchen during the week.
Yep.
So it's, you know, Sunday I'll spend 3 hours, but then Monday, Tuesday, Wednesday, Thursday, it's just grab, and everything's already ready. It's already prepped. Maybe we warm it up. Maybe I'll stick it in the dehydrator before I start my day, and it just stays in the dehydrator, warms up all day, and then it's ready for us when we eat dinner.
It's a lot of good ideas because I'm not as good at meal prep like you. So I'm trying to get better at it because we're busy too. My wife's at the studio a lot, and she doesn't have any snacks with her, and so yeah, we're
Yes.
trying to get better at it because everybody, even people who eat the standard Western diet. I saw an article that says that they only eat like the same 10 foods over and over again,
Mm.
like every week.
Yes. Yeah. Well, there's so many people, they just know every week I go to the grocery store and I buy this, and this. And then they know what they're gonna do with it. And they kind of
Yeah,
stick to the same thing. So then when they come to somebody like me and I'm like, oh, cook something different every day, it's like, what? I
yeah.
can't do that. And so, yeah, that's quite a drastic change. One of the things, excuse me, that I've seen for health, because we talk about health and natural healing. And so I think most of the people listening to us are probably concerned about their health, looking for longevity, looking for reversing illnesses and things like that. We need to work on our microbiome. We need to increase the health of our microbiome. And I'm pointing to my stomach, but you have your microbiomes all over you, inside you, on your skin, everywhere. But the way we increase the good microbes is with lots of variety. Every microbe needs something different. And so we want to make sure we're feeding our body all sorts of different foods, all sorts of, so like red peppers, green peppers, yellow peppers, purple peppers, there's 4 different types of peppers. They're all peppers, but they all have different nutrients in them that give them those colors. Our microbes want all of those different colors. Our body wants all of those different colors. And so I think it's important that we do mix it up. So even if you do stick to the same thing, every Monday we have this and every Tuesday we have this, switch up the greens or switch up whatever else you put in there. If you normally have green peppers, use the red peppers this week. Just making those little tweaks as you start to increase. Dr. Wolfowitz, am I saying that correct? Dr. Wilby, I don't know if you ever listen to him. He is a gut doctor. He was a conventional gastroenterologist who got into this research and discovered that whole food plant-based diet is the best for gut health. And he has now quit his practice and he promotes building the microbiome and whole food plant-based eating. But he said one of the most important things we can do is increase the number of different plant foods we put in our body. So like in one of my programs, I told everyone, I want you to look at your grocery list at how many different plant foods you're buying this week. So if you're buying, so the people who are buying those 10 foods, there probably aren't a lot of plants on there
Yeah,
either. And so let's be optimistic and say there's 10 plant foods.
yeah,
So then next week, let's try to get 12 plant foods, and then the next week, try to get 14 plant foods and just slowly increase how many plants you put in there. In reality, I know a lot of clients when they first come to me, I mean, there could be 1 or 2 plant foods on their list.
yeah,
Yeah. And so I think that that's normal. I think, unfortunately, I think that people will grab fast food for breakfast and lunch, and it's hard to get any fruits or vegetables. The vegetable may be that piece of lettuce and piece of tomato on a sandwich at lunch, or the slices of bell pepper on a pizza.
yeah, yeah,
Yeah, so it's not much, or the tomato sauce on the spaghetti. So then at night, maybe they cook at home and they do have a fruit or vegetable for dinner, but we want to definitely increase that. I think 90, I could totally have this number wrong. Something like 97% of Americans don't get enough fiber
oh
in
yeah,
their diet. I really need to look that quote up because I say it all the time and I don't look it up. But it's something crazy. Like most people do not eat enough fiber in a day, and fiber only comes from plants.
yeah,
When people think they're eating fiber when they're eating that chewy, tough piece of meat that's got strings, that's not the kind of fiber that feeds our microbiome. We need the fiber that is found in plants. Yes, and so
yes.
increasing your plant foods definitely helps with that. So I feel like I'm ruling the podcast today. I didn't mean to do that. So
No, no,
one of the things that how when you plan your meals, it will keep you from buying, foods that maybe you don't want to eat. A lot of times, well, for number one, if it's in your house, it's in your mouth. And so if you buy, the chips or the crackers or the different flours, those, someone will say, well, I got gluten-free flour. Well, gluten-free flour is not any healthier than all-purpose flour. unless you have celiac disease. And I'm not saying it that way. I'm saying it, flour is sugar. Flour is sugar to your body. And so it doesn't matter if you have celiac or non-celiac or no illness at all. Let's not claim it, I shouldn't say have it. Your body still treats flour as sugar. So no matter what form it comes in, whether it's gluten-free or all purpose, your body still sees that as sugar. And so it's inflammatory. Not, you don't even want gluten-free flour. Just let's get rid of the flours and eat real whole food. So flour is not a whole food. It has been heated, processed, stripped of nutrients. And so that's where I wanted to go with that. So I didn't start off saying that correctly, but I want to make sure that people understand, flour is flour, whatever form, cornstarch, arrowroot, tapioca flour, potato starch. Those are all sugars to your body. Your body is not going to handle that as a whole food. Cornstarch is nothing like a corn kernel.
Yeah.
So that is one thing. And when you plan ahead, you just don't buy those things and then you want to eat them. It should be like people say, oh, I found this really great ice cream in the grocery store. It's vegan. It has whatever. It looks really good and clean. It's made out of whatever. And so you buy it at home and you have ice cream every night. Well, I don't think that's the way it should be. I think you want a special food like that, you should have to go get it.
Yeah.
If we start getting the habit of having ice cream every night, then we're going to have ice cream every night.
Yeah.
Where if you have to get your keys and get in your car and drive somewhere, that's really the way those kind of foods should be, in my opinion.
Oh yeah, I agree. You gotta keep those out of the house. If they're in the house, you're gonna eat them.
Yeah.
Like a
Yeah.
treat, you should go out and have like one serving somewhere, and then that's
Hmm.
it. You know?
Yes. Yes. And something else to look for. So when someone will buy something and post it, I bought this at the store, what do I do with it? One of the first things I always say is read the ingredients. What is it
Yeah.
made of? So if I keep picking on artichoke pasta. I don't even know if that's really what it is. So I might be making that up. But the first thing I say is flip it over. I don't care what the front says. The front can be all kinds of fancy. It can have all the right words, high in
Yeah.
fiber, high in protein, blah, blah, blah. But the truth is in the ingredients, if they put it all in there, because they
Yeah.
don't even have to. We think that if it's on the label that we're safe, but they can put in the words natural flavors. What does that
Yeah.
mean?
Yeah. I don't
We
know
don't
what
know
is
what
that.
that means. Yes, they can put anything and they can say it's I don't remember the word, but it's like a secret formula. And so they don't have to disclose it to us. And so they just put on the words natural flavors. And so I don't buy anything that says natural flavors. It says artificial, natural flavor. If it's just letters and I don't know what those letters stand for, I don't buy it. And
Yeah.
so that is one of the things. But so I always plan, I only buy what's on the grocery list. But when I'm in the store, if I see something like artichoke pasta, then I'll go, "Ooh, what is that?" And I'm going to flip it over and look at it. A good example is cauliflower chips or black bean chips. People say, "Oh, I found this. It's
Yeah.
healthy." Well, it's
Yeah.
still a chip. It's
Yeah.
still been heated to a very high heat. It contains oils. It is definitely not healthy. Am I
Yeah.
saying don't ever eat the chips? Ideally, yes. But I know I'm going to have some chips when I watch the big game Sunday night.
Hmm.
Is it something I do every night? No. Is it something I do every week? No. And so it's just a rare occasion that I will, if I am in good enough health, my body should be able to process that as long as it's not something that I decide to do every day. Yeah.
Well, I mean, one great thing about eating this way is you have to you tend to have more variety anyway because you have to get creative, like we talked about before.
Yeah.
Do you ever, when you plan meals, do you ever think about balancing the meal? I mean, or just worry
Oh,
about
yes.
getting different colors?
Yes, so that's a great question. Yes, and especially when I was first starting out. So for any of you that are just starting out, the first concern is always the protein. And it
Mhm.
was for me too. And now I know I don't have to worry about it, but I know I really did. I mean, that was a serious thing to me in the beginning. My youngest child was 10 years old, and she's the one who said, I'm going completely vegan. And she was also running cross country. And so then I was like, oh my gosh, if she's going to be vegan, I really need to make sure she's getting all of the nutrition she needs. And this is after I had studied nutrition at the master's level. I mean, I was like, oh, this is really important. And so I started tracking. And so you can use trackers, Chronometer or MyFitnessPal, but I started really looking at the whole plate. And I really like Brenda Davis. I don't know if you know who she is. She's written a ton of books. I love her books. I actually got to be a recipe tester for one of her most recent books called Nourish, which is a whole food plant-based book for families. And it may even start with pregnancy, but it's just making sure you're getting all of the nutrients you need, from birth through seniors, all the way through the
Yeah.
lifespan.
Yeah.
And it was recipes too. And looking at, she has her own plate, like we have the food guidelines, and it used to be a plate. It is a plate again now. Then it was a pyramid. Now it's a plate with a circle. And so she has her own, and I really like it. I do struggle with looking at the plates because I like mixed meals and combined meals. And it's like, okay, what would that really look like if I separated, the
Yeah.
grains out and all of that? But I do try to make sure that I have a food that is um, higher in protein, amino acids. I try to have a little bit of a grain at least a couple of days a week. Maybe not a grain, but a pseudo grain like quinoa.
Yeah.
We do have quinoa occasionally, and things like that. So I will make sure that we have beans, lentils, especially for a growing child, every day. I really like Dr. Furman's G bombs,
Yeah.
greens, beans, onions, mushrooms, berries, and seeds. I've always been a part of the Nutritarian diet. They had a study several years ago, and it's using the G bombs, greens, beans, onions, mushrooms, berries, and seeds to prevent breast cancer. And they just reenacted it. And so now I'm back in that study again now too, to see the long-term effects of eating that way. But we do every day. We have greens, beans, onions, mushrooms, berries, and seeds um, somewhere in our meals.
Yeah.
And that's a pretty easy thing to do. I mean, you can get most of that in your breakfast and then work up from there. But so yes, I do. I make sure the big ones. So for me, and this may be getting too nerdy or whatever, and if it is, um, omega-3s are really important to me. Now, I think that nutrition, when we get specific, nutrition is very individual. But for me, based on my genetics, I like the omega-3s, the anti-inflammatories. There, someone who has a lot of heart disease, who's watching their fat content, they may look at things a little bit differently. For me, I'm eating walnuts, hemp seeds, flax seeds, chia seeds. Um, I try to focus on the seeds because the seeds are lower in fat than like walnuts.
Yeah.
And so I do like to focus on the seeds, but those are give us lots of vitamin E. They give us the omega-3 fatty acids, which are anti-inflammatory. And if I am struggling with getting too much fat because of heart condition, then I go to the sea vegetables. I go to algae, maybe putting spirulina in a breakfast, things like that. But I want to make sure for me that I'm getting omega-3 rich foods every day because of my family history. I also make sure that I have greens 3 times a day, greens in the breakfast, lunch, and dinner every day. I have a large salad every single day. And that was something when Dr. Furman, when I first read one of his books. So one of his books was one of our textbooks,
Yeah.
but I had read several of his books before then. And he said you should have a pound of raw vegetables and a pound of cooked vegetables every day. And I was like, what in the world? How could anyone eat
Yeah.
that much? And now I'm like, that is hilarious because but at the time it was like, that's impossible. Who could
Yeah.
possibly eat that much? But now I do. I have my today's salad. I post a picture of it every single day because I do. I have a raw salad every single day for lunch. It may have cooked vegetables on it. It may have leftovers from yesterday on it. It may have a bean burger on it, but I do have some raw vegetables in a salad every single day. the key is I make a couple of salad dressings on the weekend in my meal prep.
Yeah.
And so that's really the key, is a good sauce. I love sauce. And
Uh,
so,
yeah, it
and
is.
then yes, and so then I make up the rest of it in dinner. You know, if I didn't have beans on my salad, then we're having beans with our dinner. Yeah, like that. Yeah.
And it gets easier over time. If you're
Yes.
listening, you're like, oh my God, this sounds so complicated. It's just take your time with it and it'll become second
Yes.
nature, you know.
Yes. Now, do you have a salad every day?
I do, especially during the summer. I've
Mhm.
got usually during the summer I have salads every day, and then in the wintertime I have more cooked greens.
Yes. Yes.
But I don't know. I don't in the wintertime I don't crave salad as much, but when the summer gets here, I want it. I don't know.
Yeah.
Kind of,
Well, that
I guess more seasonal eating sometimes.
me too. That's like, because you said you have a smoothie every morning, and I think it's the smoothie in the cold. So like right now I'm
Yeah,
eating, I heat up my bowl. I usually have oats, sprouted oat groats, or a seed gruel with breakfast soup. And people are like, "What? You eat breakfast soup?" But it's cooked greens. I have
yeah,
some kind of soup every morning because I want something warm because it's
yeah.
cold.
Yes,
Yes, I
yeah,
don't want a cold smoothie. I don't want a smoothie with banana or pineapple or any. I mean, that just says summer to me, and my body is like, "No, you don't need that right now." And
yeah.
so, hopefully, my body's right.
I think so because
And
my wife is the same way. If it's cold, she's not having a smoothie.
mm-mm.
I just do. I guess it's just because it's just something that I'm used to.
Yes.
I need to work on variety as well, but yeah,
Yeah, and then my salad, like I said, we'll have leftovers. Usually leftovers are warmed up. Or my salad will be a little bit smaller with a bowl of soup
yeah,
too. If it's really cold, then definitely. Yes. Or heat up chili and pour it on top of the salad and you have taco salad.
yum.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, I
Yes.
saw those I saw those the burritos you were what was it called a few days ago on your create. It was a burrito topping or do you know
Oh,
what I'm
I don't
talking about?
remember.
It
Mm-mm.
looked good. It looked good.
Oh, I wish I could think of what it was.
Yeah.
Yeah. Anyway, and then dinners are always whatever,
Yeah.
Mexican, Italian, Chinese, Japanese, Thai. Yeah, I love all the different mixes.
Well, this is exciting. Like having this variety, it's like every day it's more fun. It's like you look forward to your meals instead of the same
Yes.
old, you know?
Yes, and it's fun. And then I get the family to tell me too, what have we not had recently that you want to have? And then we come up with something. Or
Yeah.
what's something that we used to eat that we haven't had in a long time?
Yeah.
And so, and then fun food too, like we talked about carrot dogs on here before.
Oh yeah.
Yeah. So another thing that we like to do is we used to call it Fun Food Friday. Our Friday nights are usually busy with school stuff now, but it used to be Fun Food Friday. So we would come up with things like tonight's everything's going to be something on a stick. So it'd be like kebabs on the
Yeah.
grill. We would make fruit skewers and make a chocolate sauce and dip the fruit. And so
Oh,
everything had to be on a stick. And so Fun
wow.
Food Friday. Yeah, so it's
Yeah.
just make it fun. And it's fun, especially if you have kids. You want it to be different, and you want them to have some input in there, and you want them to have fun with it too. And my kids they love food. They love working in the kitchen. My youngest, I mean, she could just take over my business and my cooking shows. I mean, she is a pro. She comes up, she'll on the fly create this amazing Thai noodle dish. And I'm like, what?
Wow.
Yeah, just scour through the kitchen the way most of us wish we could do. She will, which is amazing.
That makes me love
Anyway,
that quote. Fun is fundamental. So if you start to have fun with your dishes, you're going to be more likely to stick to this way of eating. Or I say this is a lifestyle. It's not really a diet for me. It's a lifestyle, and
right,
it can
right.
be really fun and nourishing, and it makes you see things in a different light. So
Yes, yes, because I know transitioning to this way of eating is so difficult because it's so different from the way we used to eat. Someone invites you over for, let's have steaks on the grill. And so it's like, wait, why does it have to be about the steaks? Or let's have hamburgers and hot dogs. And it's like,
yeah,
wait, why are we planning everything around
the
this?
same
And so
old.
to change your mindset where I'm not planning around the meat, I'm planning around vegetables. And so to have a theme instead of steaks or hamburgers, have a theme. What can we have this weekend that's, Italian? Let's have Italian night.
Yep.
Yeah, and then get creative. And creativity is important too. We were made to be creative, I believe. And
Yes.
and it doesn't have to be difficult and time consuming. Make it simple. Yeah. Italian night can be zoodles with marinara and some green beans.
Yeah. Just remember this for the viewers or the listeners, what you want to say. Make it simple. Don't try to overcomplicate it. I had a guy that he wanted to start juicing. And the next time I saw him, he's like, "Hey, I juiced Saturday. It took me like 4 hours." I'm like, "What? 4 hours? Well, you're never gonna like keep that up. Why did it take so long?" Well,
Yeah.
I want to cut all my fruit and I did this and I did. I'm like, dude, it takes me like 30, 20 minutes.
Hmm.
So you
Yeah.
got to make it simple. You got to make it you have time to do it.
Yes.
Make it fit your lifestyle. If you don't, you're not gonna stick to it.
Right. Right. And my 3 hours in the kitchen on Sunday is my choice because I don't want to have to do anything in the kitchen the rest of the week. I
Exactly.
could just chop vegetables on Sunday, have them in the fridge ready to cook each night during the week.
Yeah.
And just having them all chopped on Sunday is going to make
Yeah.
it easier for you during the week. But you don't have to do it all at one time. Maybe Sundays are hard for you. Maybe there's another day during the week you can do. But if you can
Mhm.
just slowly incorporate things, make large batches of things. For me, my family doesn't like leftover bean burgers, which I think is hilarious. But I'll make beet burgers or lentil burgers and we'll eat them one night and then freeze them. And then I have them, for lunches or whatever. And then the next week, make a different kind of burger. So I always have burgers in the fridge, for lunch. I don't know why they won't eat them left over, but I'll do that with other things too. If you are into dehydrating, I'll make wraps in the dehydrator and I'll make, several of them, put them in the freezer. Pizza crust, I'll make pizza crust in the dehydrator. I have leftovers in the freezer. So then, maybe I don't feel whatever I had planned for tonight, I am just not feeling it. Then I can grab something out of the freezer, have a wrap or a pizza or something like that instead. And so I think that's important too. Have other, so you can change your mind.
Yes.
Yeah.
Wow. This has been very informative, even for me, because variety, I mean, that's your specialty. It is a specialty
Mm.
because, it's something you have to practice and get good at. So,
Yes. Yeah. Yeah. I haven't always been able to do this. I mean, it has taken a while, but if you just do a little bit each day, like I said, add some more, switch out some fruits and vegetables for next week to give yourself some variety and put a couple extra things on the list. So if you only look at your grocery list. How many fruits and vegetables am I buying this week? Let's add 2 more next week, but with a plan.
yeah.
Don't buy a bunch of asparagus and not know what you're going to do with it because asparagus can be very expensive. So come up with a plan when you're writing your grocery list. Oh, we could have an apple with our breakfast, or let's add asparagus to the stir fry.
Yeah.
Yeah. Anyway, I hope this was helpful for all of our viewers today. Please comment, please send us messages. Let us know what else you would like to hear about. If you have extra meal planning tips, please share. We would love to hear them. And if you want to hear more about meal planning, let us know as well. Next week, we're going to be talking about medicines, supplements. Do you know what is in your medicines and how they affect your body? And how they can influence different conditions. Taking multiple medications can be an issue too. So I hope you'll tune in and join us for that.
See you next week.